This year marks the 200 years for the Erie Canal, and organizations across the region are marking the milestone.
To celebrate the bicentennial, the Niagara History Center is hosting a series of free presentations next month about the canal's rich history. Right now, we are joined by Ray Weigel, director of the Erie Canal Discovery Center. Ray, it is a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming in.
Wonderful to be here.
So before we talk about this lecture series, how are you feeling about year number 200?
It's a big anniversary, it really is. You know, the Erie Canal was super important for the United States when it was finished. This is the very first time that they had a large-scale transport, shipping, travel connection between all the original states on the eastern seaboard and all the new stuff out in the west across the Appalachian Mountains. That was the very first time that you could get large amounts of anything and anyone across. So it was tremendously important for the United States, and we're hoping that this 200th anniversary will really kind of remind people of what this meant.
And you're located in Lockport,
yes.
Right? And tell us about the lecture series and when everything starts up. When do the lectures launch?
Okay, in April, actually. They're going to be held at the Historic Palace Theater in Lockport. And if you haven't been there, that's one of the restored early 20th century movie palaces, and it's just absolutely wonderful, just worth going to see that. The very first lecture will take place on April 3rd from 6 to 7 p.m. And these are free programs, by the way. That's sort of an overview of why the Erie Canal was built and what it meant to everyone. That's being presented by our executive director, James Lester. Then on April 22nd, Josh Poole from the Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center will be giving a program on how the Erie Canal affected the Underground Railroad. And it's something you don't think about, but yes, it did. And then a couple days later, on the 24th, another thing that you don't really think about, that's going to be from 5 to 6, Vince Schiffert from the Tuscarora Nation is going to be talking about how the Erie Canal impacted the native peoples living across what is now New York State. I mean, this thing had a huge impact all over the place.
These sound like really great perspectives. When you're talking about the rich history, you know, here we are 200 years later. How has it evolved over the years? You know, what is it used for today in year 2025?
Well, as some of us who are old enough to remember, it used to be called, in our lifetimes, the New York State Barge Canal. The whole canal was finished in 1825, of course. Then about 10 or 11 years later, the state realized it's not big enough anymore. Now we have to go enlarge it. So the whole thing was widened and deepened. All the original locks were replaced with bigger locks. It was still a canal boat canal, you know, mules pulling boats, up until the early 20th century when the state realized now we need something to carry the big barge loads. So then that's when it was altered to become the Barge Canal. And when they did that, by the way, the only surviving 19th century locks are now in Lockport, so we can go see them. And actually, it was carrying more than even a million tons a year or more of commercial freight up until the opening of another waterway, the St. Lawrence Seaway, which kind of bypasses it now. So today it's mostly recreational, although if we remember last year, the Ralph Wilson Foundation bringing that barge up the canal with the pedestrian bridge on it, you know, it can still be used for barge traffic if they need to.
And as we were showing folks there were 3 lectures, right, that are planned,
yes.
okay? What do you hope people, there's so much history, so much information, what do you hope people take away from all this?
Really just sort of a bigger understanding of our history here in this area, as well as New York State, United States history, and a better feel for what this meant to us today. You know, it still impacts us today.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Ray, we are just about out of time. One last time, you mentioned this is free. It's all happening at the Palace Theater.
Yes.
Give us the websites if people want to learn more.
Well, of course, WIVB.com.
Oh, thank you.
For Niagara history would be niagarahistory.org. To learn more about Lockport, discoverlockport.com. And all of the Erie Canal events taking place this year across the state, eriecanalway.org.
Wonderful.
All right, great. And the lecture series, of course, that has a domino effect. So, you know, people there, they're going to go and shop. They're going to go to the restaurants. They're not only just going to enjoy the museum and all the attractions there in Lockport.